Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. Many of us are interested in space adventure. Not only cosmonauts and astronauts are interested in going up into space and exploring new frontiers, we're actually interested in going into space. I want to go into space. But how do you do that? Some of us think Richard Branson with Virgin Galactic is going to take us there, but actually, Space Adventures has been there for quite a while, taking individuals into outer space. I wanted to invite someone from their company. Stacey Tearne is going to be talking with us today, who's the Vice President of Communications for Space Adventures at spaceadventures.com. Thank you for being here today.
No problem. Glad to be here.
So, how did this company start? Why did it start? And how come the whole world doesn't know about you?
Well, I think we are making an impression on the whole world. We started back in '98, and our first customer, Dennis Tito, made a historic launch in 2001 when he launched on a Russian Soyuz rocket en route to the International Space Station, and he forever changed manned spaceflight history. He was the first self-funded individual to travel to space. He spent 8 days aboard the International Space Station, and since then we've sent 7 other individuals to space.
Now, when we talk about space, Stacey, we're talking about lunar, orbital, suborbital space flight. Explain that to the audience.
Well, the flight pattern in which our clients have flown is an orbital space flight pattern. And so that means the way in which the speed of which that you're leaving the Earth's atmosphere, you're able to then orbit the Earth. And the space station orbits the Earth about 250 miles above the Earth's surface. Our clients orbit the Earth every 90 minutes. They see 16 sunrises and sunsets per day. Cumulatively, our clients have spent over 2,000 hours in space. And so it's much different from a suborbital space flight where you're just touching that line of space and coming back down. If you think of that as just one large parabola or one large arc. So you're just reaching enough to touch space, be there for a few moments, and return to Earth. Our clients have actually orbited the Earth, and they had to train to be able to acclimatize themselves to be able to live in a space atmosphere.
How long does it take to train somebody so that they can do that effectively?
It's approximately 4 months, and they train with the Russian Space Agency in Star City, which is just outside of Moscow. And it's really learning the space system, learning the environment of which they'll live in at the International Space Station, and just being aware of the systems and instrumentation that they would be looking at.
Is it as scary as it was when people were first going to the moon, for example, or is space flight at a citizen level easier?
Well, I don't think anyone would ever categorize space flight as easy. I think that there's a clear understanding of the risks involved, and we have, duly documented that, over close to 50 years of space flight since Yuri Gagarin's first. He was the first human in space. So over that course of time, I think there's a much more sophisticated understanding of the potential dangers of spaceflight. So I wouldn't classify it as easy more than we understand.
What I said really was, is it easier than it was? Not is it easy, but is it easier than when we first started going? Is it different than what they would be in for traditional astronauts flying from NASA?
Well, NASA currently operates the space shuttle. Okay. That shuttle, that fleet of vehicles have been in operation for the last 30 years and are due to retire at the end of this year once the construction of the International Space Station is complete. What our clients fly on is a Russian Soyuz rocket. Oftentimes, there are NASA astronauts on that rocket as well. So our clients are flying during a crew rotation of the International Space Station. the space station has been orbiting the Earth for 10 years, and every 6 months there's a rotation of the crew that's manning the station. So our clients go to space and live aboard the space station during those times of which they're changing out the crew. So our client flies with professional astronauts and cosmonauts who are going to, start their 6-month increment stint on the space station. So they're flying with professionals.
That's great. Now, it's really expensive, isn't it? It's like $100 million to do this or more?
No. Dennis Tito, his estimated cost was about $20 million, and our previous clients have spent on the range of $35 million. If you compare it to a cost of a space shuttle launch, which is approximately about $1 billion, it's quite a reasonable price.
And who are the people that are stepping forward? Like, do you have a waiting list? I would imagine you would.
We have definitely people who are interested, people who are just clamoring for an opportunity to go into space. Our previous clients, they come from all different backgrounds, and but they have one thing in common, and they always had that dream of space. And usually, it starts as when they were a youth, when they were young. Some of our clients remember when Sputnik launched. Others remembered when Neil Armstrong, took the first step on the moon. So there's a point in each of their lives where they felt as though it was important for them to try to achieve this dream, and we're just so lucky that we're in a position to be able to help them realize it.
Now, there's a young man who started this company, 36 years old. Talk about him.
Eric Anderson. So he was 23 when Space Adventures was founded, and basically he has an education in aerospace engineering. But he, of course, as a young boy, wanted to become an astronaut, and it became very clear to him as he was growing older that his eyesight would preclude him from joining NASA as a professional astronaut. So he decided that he thought that was very unfair, and decided that he was going to open up the space frontier to everyone. And so he banded together with a group of, other like-minded individuals, and they started Space Adventures. And, again, since then, there have been 8 spaceflight missions to the International Space Station. So he's still waiting for his opportunity to fly to space.
Really?
Oh, of course, yes. The tickets, as you know, are quite expensive. So he is hopeful that his dream will be realized also in the near future.
Do you see a possibility that the cost of getting there will come down? Or do you think that we're still at a time with technology where it's just still so expensive to go that it just is what it is?
Well, there have been advancements in technology, but the key component that is missing is competitiveness. Right now, there's only 3 operators of rocketry in space, and that's NASA, the Chinese, and the Russians. And so once there's a competitive element, meaning commercial entities being able to provide ways in which to access space, then you'll be able to see a dramatic drop in the cost.
That's a great point. Have you ever wanted to go up? Or out?
Oh, of course. I've been working with Space Adventures for the last 7 years, and yes, I would like to experience it myself as well.
What's the complex part of this business? What is the toughest part of increasing the commercial activity in it?
Well, I think it's the shifting of the paradigm. It has always been a government-run basically activity, and so there's when paradigm shifts, sometimes there's just hesitation because it's a sense of change and why change something, but we all realize that we have gained from our space exploration. Just think of satellites of